Hello, this is Joel Blackford with Beth Acid Sabbath Fellowship. One more video. This one's going to be interesting for you. I think you'll see some things that you never thought would be possible. So once again, we would normally meet in St. Paul, but we are not meeting right now because of COVID-19. The question in this video is Macron the Antichrist? He's making some overtures that you should be aware of. And also Paris is doing something bizarre. So I need to show that to you. And then there's Germany, Amalek. And so we'll look through the biblical history of Amalek, which would be Herod was an Amalekite and he killed the Jewish babies. So, and there are other figures over the years. Hitler was kind of an Amalek. So we'll run through those things and keep in mind what I do is I don't just give you history and I don't just give you the Bible. I give you a philosophy of the end of days. So why are we here? I mean, why did God birth us for such a time as this? What knowledge do we need to acquire? What's our reality going forward? Things like that. So the reality right now is that Macron is making some moves, and some people, like Jeffrey Grider here, believe that he's the Antichrist. Now, I call this fear porn because he says it's looking like 18 months, people. 18 months. Remember that. And that's Jeffrey Grider. And his site is now, whatever, we'll run through it in a couple of minutes. It doesn't matter. It's, it's he is a fear porn guy. So here's what he's writing. Emmanuel Macron is going to be the global leader for this COVID-19 pandemic, not even a pandemic, okay? And so he's working with the false prophet Pope Francis, which might be the case. He's an Antichrist wannabe, and the Revelation 13 Olympics. But he's also giving you fear porn that this is the end of days, like the rapture is going to happen tomorrow. And you'll see that consistently. So, anyway, is Macron the Antichrist? Is French bread your enemy? Is the rooster somewhere in the Bible? And it points to the fact that this is going to be the Antichrist. Well, let's look at it. So let's dig through the Bible. Let's look at prophecy. Let's look at the newspaper. Let's study the philosophy of the end of days properly. And first of all, let's throw Jeffrey Grider out. So his site is Now the End Begins. That's what it's called. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that's Jeffrey Grider. And Rapture Ready is citing him and recommending him. And this is a fear porn guy. Okay, so if you have the opportunity to contact Rapture Ready, tell them to kick Jeffrey Grider out because he's making comments like this. This is 2011. This is almost 10 years ago. Maybe today, the pre-trib rapture, today's news could be millions missing. And then on March 2nd of 2016, he says the rapture is very, very close now. And it's day-to-day standby, in 2016 again. So poor Rapture Ready. I mean, come on, guys. We don't need fear porn. We don't need this constant beating the drum that the rapture is going to happen today. And here's the signs that list it out. We don't need this. And it's not going to be the rooster beating the dog, okay? It's not going to be France. We don't need fear porn. We don't, who you're going to call. Not Ghostbusters and not Jeffrey Grider, okay? We need to sensibly rather, look through what's going on in the world. We need to look at France right now because this is going to be intriguing for you guys to see, okay? So every year we have the 40 days in the fall that are the 40 days of repentance. So that's from Elul 1 until Yom Kippur, and that's the holiest day of the year. And so you're supposed to be repenting and thinking about your sins. Jesus probably was tested during that time frame, okay? In the spring, it starts in Adar, either 1 or 2. If there's a second Adar, then it starts then. And it goes through until Nisan 1, which would be the end of 30 days. And then you go to Nisan 10, which is the day that Yeshua was inspected. And then he was sacrificed on the 14th of Nisan 14. Okay? And so on the first day of 2019, so that's last year, you have Obama going to the seat of Satan in Germany, meeting with Angela Merkel, and so that was a big day, and I'm going to give you the typology going on there and why it was such a big day. And then on the 10th day, you have Notre Dame burning, and so that's the day that Yeshua would have been inspected. And I'm arguing that that is the beast system burning the harlot in this case. And we'll see. We'll see what's going on with this, okay? And then I'm arguing that Germany is supporting France, and it's going to be in the most bizarre way you've ever seen. It's cloak and dagger, and that is, rather than Jeffrey Geider saying that it's going to be the peacock and that's the Antichrist because it's Macron and stuff like that. No, no, no. And we're not going to get raptured tomorrow either. So just let's go forward and start digging through this. So here's what got me started. I was digging through this story, trying to come up with what's going on. And this guy, Anthony Stein, a Catholic, a nice Catholic guy. And by the way, I love many Catholics. I have a Catholic guy that I live next door to and I talked to tonight before I walked in. So there are godly Catholic people. So if I say things that are anti-Catholic, that doesn't mean that I'm anti-Catholic. That means that I'm not so fond of the Pope, but many Catholics aren't either, okay? And I'm not so fond of certain practices that they have. Well, one of those would be I'm a minister's kid, so I would be a bastard in the Catholic system. But I did, I have been very friendly and very loving towards Catholics over the years. You'd be amazed at some of my stories. So this guy, Anthony Stein, is arguing that there are horrific people weaseling their ways into these Catholic churches across France and other places like that. They're witches, they're Rosicrucians, they are weasels, and they're getting in and they're taking control. Now, in this case, he's not stating it, I'm stating it was a planned attack. It had to occur on Nissan 10 of 5779. This Parisian attack of Notre Dame. No one's ever really cared to figure out why. It's a New World Order design plan. Okay, there's the rooster on top, so that's the symbol of France, and that fell off, and that man picked it up there. So Stein is citing this source, and so this is the Freemason speaking. This is specifically Jean-Philippe Hubsch, and he's the Grand Master of the Greater Orient of France, and that's the most influential Freemasonry group out there. And so basically, they're saying we do not want Notre Dame to be rebuilt as a temple to Yeshua. We want it to be rebuilt as a temple to pagans, to witches, to the lodge, we'll call them. And so that's the Masons and the Rosicrucians. And so they want this devoted to witchcraft. And I'm arguing that the Antichrist wants it to be that way too. Whether we know who he is or not, I don't care. But Anthony Stein found this, and this is really, really cool. So basically, these people are saying it doesn't matter how the fire occurred, which was planned. It does matter that this does not become a godly place in the future, that this becomes a pagan place. And that's going to play out. But wait until you figure out who's going to do the rebuilding, which is amazing. It's not the witches and the Rosicrucians, it's Germany. Yes, the Leopard, Germany, is going to rebuild the Rooster. This is so amazing. So they're so deceptive that they know, Macron and other people like that know that if they used French dollars to rebuild Notre Dame, which is what makes sense, that someone would say, well, what are we getting out of this? Well, you're getting a pagan temple. So then you have to go to Germany, and in a covert way, you have to have the Leopard rebuild this for the Antichrist. That's what I'm arguing. And we'll get to the verses so that you can see what I'm talking about. But this occurred again on Nissan 10 of 5779. That was the day it had to occur. It was observed by powerful people. And so I'm arguing that, and that this is part of the when we see the verses, you're going to see that the leopard has these feathers, these wings, so to speak, and we'll see if you like my logic on this, but this is deception here. Very important deception in terms of rebuilding, in this case, not Notre Dame. It's going to be a beast temple, and Germany's going to do it, so just keep that in mind. So let's go forward. That's old Notre Dame there. That's going to be new Notre Dame on the right-hand side. And it's not going to be a temple to God. It's going to be a temple to Zeus, to the beast. And the beast probably will meet there. This will be, I believe, one of his 4 locations. And once again, I'll show you the verses in just a little bit. So that's what's going to happen. It's going to be, it was iconic. It's going to be an icon wing, an image for the beast. And I just want to point this out. I'm not real happy with these guys, but just keep in mind that this Notre Dame was tied into prophecy. That if you look at last year, 2019, when it burned, and you go back 777 years, that equals 1242. And the Jews remembered that. They remembered that back in 1242, Their Talmud, which is basically sermons, were burned, and then 777 years later, Notre Dame burned. And so when you hear the guys saying, hey, beware of the Noahide, that's sermons, guys. Just don't get fit into a frenzy over this. Take it easy. It's not that big of a deal. There are no rabbis out there thinking that they need to kill Christians because they aren't keeping Noahide or anything like that. It's really not important. Okay? And so don't let these guys work you into a frenzy. So, going forward, this is an island, once again, where Notre Dame is, and there's the Seine River, and on the Seine River was Michelle Obama, and she was having drinks and having a great time as they lit the fire on Nissan 10. It's amazing. That's April 15th, and she watched it. She's one of the witnesses. Now, but we need two witnesses. So where's Barack? I don't know. But we're going to show you what Barack observed 10 days before this on Nissan 1, and that was in 2019. So it's just interesting. Now, also remember that was an island, okay? And so I'll try to get to that later on and explain that to you. Well, I'll just explain it real quick. Basically, when you look at the island of Tyre, and Isaiah, you're going to see all sorts of things came against it because they looked at Jerusalem as it was suffering and they mocked Jerusalem. And so that's Isaiah. Oh, goodness. Is that Isaiah 27? I'm blanking on it right now. I'm sorry. But anyway, the bottom line is that God can't stand Tyre, and he made them suffer horribly because of mocking Jerusalem when they were at their worst point. And so the main thing is, even when your enemies are down, don't mock them. Don't mock them. And so Satan is that king of Tyre. And so, that's from Isaiah. Okay, so the globalists were out cursing in 2019, and they needed that Notre Dame fire to occur so that Michelle Obama could see it because she's part of this. Okay, she's married to Barack. So here she is out on the boat. This is TMZ reporting that she watched the fire and everything like that. Where's Barack? And also, she's making it sound like, oh my, there's a fire at Notre Dame. Well, she can see the reflection is going on as she's taking a drink. You can see it in her glass and everything like that. So the leaders fiddled, and no one cared who started this fire. No one cared because this is all part of the Antichrist system. The Antichrist wants to have a building devoted to paganism in where Notre Dame is. Okay, that's part of the deal. So now we're going to get to Barack. And first we're going to cite the verse so that you can see where I'm going with all of this. So after I looked, this is from Daniel 7:6. After I looked, and there was another one, a leopard with 4 birds' wings on its sides. And the animal also had 4 heads and was given power to rule. So it was a leopard with 4 birds' wings. Okay? And so I'm arguing that Germany is the leopard and the 4 birds' wings. One of them happens to be France. I don't know what the other 3 are. I'm going to recommend something later on. And I'm saying that Obama is a war hawk, just like Bush, just like other men like that. He was never the Messiah or anything like that. One kid says he's Gog, and that's that 15-year-old Jewish kid from Jerusalem. And I argue with that. I argue the same way as him, that Obama has that characteristic. We'll discuss that more. But right now, I want you to see the leopard with the 4 birds' wings and how Obama fits into this and how Paris fits into this, and now Germany. So we're going to go for the leopard. So back on Nissan 1, April 6th of 2019, Gog meets the Antichrist. I'm arguing that the Antichrist was present there at the seat of Satan. So this is that town hall in Europe. Obama is the second witness of this. And he said, despite Europe's wealth and social achievements and decades of peace, we also know that powerful forces are working to reverse many of these trends, of these social achievement trends. Well, you know what? Those social achievement trends cause us to go into debt and to cause chaos in societies. So he's causing that, and that's part of his agenda. And others are working against that agenda. Well, maybe that's a good thing. So just keep that in mind. So here's the second island, okay? Just like the island of Tyre, okay? And there's where Obama's speech is down below on the right-hand side. That's in the ESMT building, and that's for young Europeans. And then this is once again Nissan 1, April 6th of 2019. There's the Pergamus Museum up there on the top Okay, that's another temple to Zeus. Okay, because it is literally in Revelation 2:13 the place where Antipas was murdered, and Yeshua says that's the seat of Satan. I know where you live, you know. And there's the Reichstag off to the left, and the Brandenburg Gate with the four horses, which reminds us of Revelation chapter 6 and Zechariah chapter 6. So it's just very, very important to notice this. This is Berlin. This is where Obama went to kick things off. And then a year later, what do we get? We get COVID-19. So I think it's connected because back in 2008, we see what occurred then. Obama purposely planned out to mirror his Denver facade to look exactly like the seat of Satan from the Pergamum Museum, which happens to be in that island where Obama gave a speech. So he is tied into this. Now, he would have given a speech in the middle. See him right there down in the lower middle there? Above here, in the middle of this Pergamum Museum, I superimplanted a bull, a hollow bull, so that you could see how Antipas was killed. He was cooked inside the bull, and as he screamed out in pain, the bull would snort out noises, and so that gave the people fun. I know where you are living, there where the adversary's throne is, yet you are holding on to my name. You did not deny trusting me, even at the time when my faithful witness Antipas was put to death in your town, there where the adversary lives. So that was Pergamos in Turkey. And that is what Obama tried to mirror and go back again in 2019 on his cursing tour as the second witness of this. Now, this is 2020. What do we get? We get disease. These cursing tours bring about plagues, and this is just another plague. So keep this in mind. These are the plagues. These are the cases, the deaths, and they just keep on coming and coming and coming. And there's more coming in 2021 too, guys. This is not the only plague that you're going to see. There will be more. Okay, so whatever you saw in Egypt years ago, you'll see again. Okay, so what I'm arguing, based on this Leopard of Germany and the other four locations, these four wings, we'll call them, okay, like Paris, France, with the Notre Dame, is the Pergamum Museum in Berlin is one of these locations. I'm arguing that Notre Dame, Paris is another one. London, maybe. The Hague. I don't know where the four locations will be, but there will be four locations. And it looks like one should receive a head wound at some point in time. And we'll check through the verses on that too. So what we should expect now in 2020 going forward is more globalism, and you're seeing it. You're seeing more like the mark of the beast could happen at any point in time. We could receive a mark and need it just to get food because they're going to be digitally scanning us to verify that we don't have COVID-19, okay, and any future diseases. So we should see more globalism. We should see anti-monarchy, which is anti-Yeshua, okay, and the Antichrist. And then these are the last days coming. We should see more and more and more of it. So we know what comes after that too. Hitler's final solution is the Holocaust, which is wholly burnt animal, Holocaust, Ola in the Hebrew, and that's burning the Jews. Well, that's what they want to do. That's what these nations want to do again. It's kind of like the kingdoms that we've already seen from Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7. We see these things pop up in the beginning, then they happen again. And so we see Nebuchadnezzar, which is Babylon, the head of gold. But that's like Great Britain and the United States being ripped off as a lion, you know. And then Cyrus is a bear, but that's Russia and Medo-Persia. Alexander is the leopard, Germany, but also Greece. Caesar is Rome, but there's another Rome coming together here at the end here. And the Antichrist will run this. And we see that it mirrors itself as you move forward every 490 years from 70 AD to 560. The plagues, Justinian I, the plague of Justinian, and the rulings of Justinian that were anti-Semitic, which caused the plagues, and then the schism in 1050, 490 years later, and then the plagues again in 1540, and then we're expecting Yeshua to return maybe by 2030. I don't know, but I'm stating that that's another 490 years. So we see these patterns repeating and repeating and repeating, and that's Now here's the verses. So let's dig through Daniel 7 just so you can see what I'm talking about. And you've already read some of this with me. And four huge animals came up out of the sea, each different from the others. The first was like a lion. That could be England, it could be Nebuchadnezzar, and it could be Babylon. With eagle's wings, that could be like the United States. And I watched its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted off the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a human heart was given to it. And then there was another animal, a second one, like a bear, Russia, Medo-Persia. And it raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it was told, "Get up and gorge yourself with flesh." After this I looked, and there was another one, a leopard, Germany, Greece, fast, and 4 birds' wings on its sides. I believe Paris, France, and Notre Dame specifically is one of those wings. The animal also had 4 heads, and it was given power to rule. And after this I looked in the night visions, and there before me was a 4th animal, dreadful, horrible, extremely strong, and with great iron teeth. It devoured, it crushed, and it stomped its feet on what was left, and it was different from all the animals that had gone before it, and it had 10 horns. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we move forward, the 10 horns. So this is Revelation 13. It's a companion set of verses to that. And so everything matches up, same types of beasts. And so we would have to assume the leopard with the 4 wings, and that Notre Dame would be part of this. So let's just read it. And keep in mind, too, there's no roosters here. And I saw a beast come up out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads. And on its horns were 10 royal crowns, and on its heads blasphemous names. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, but with feet like those of a bear. So leopard, Germany. And it can't be Greece, because Greece is long gone by this point in time. The bear, Russia, okay, and a mouth like that of a lion, Great Britain. To the dragon gave its power, its throne, and great authority. One of the heads of the beast appeared to have received a fatal wound. Only one of the heads, okay? But its fatal wound was healed, and the whole earth followed after the beast in amazement. They worshipped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast. So the beast is going to have these locations. And I'm arguing that he may have a location in Russia, and he may have a location there, I think, in Paris. He may be in a few different locations. We'll see where he has his little power centers. So it's not going to be the French rooster. It's not Macron, guys. Macron's a wimp. Germany plays in this. Russia plays a part in the end times. China does too, the dragon. And in this case, Great Britain, they will play a part too. Sorry, Macron plays his part in terms of Germany as a proxy, building the Antichrist temple from Notre Dame, from the ashes of Notre Dame. Very bizarre. So just keep that in mind when you see people like Jeffrey Grider run around and say, "Oh, Macron's going to be the Antichrist." No, he's not. It's not a chicken, okay? This is the Pergamos location in Asia Minor, Turkey. Okay, the seat of Satan that we read about from Revelation 2:13. So, and in that midsection there would be the place where Antipas was killed, okay, and burned alive, and with the screams and everything like that, making a noise, and it's very sickening to think about that. And many people were killed that way, the martyrs. Now let's move forward and realize that Pergamos Museum was moved to Berlin from about 1878 to about 1900 and turned into a museum. And then by 1914, we have World War I, which combined Germany and the Ottoman Empire, which is interesting because they're part of prophecy too, from 1517 to 1917, 400 years of controlling Jerusalem. And because they lost that First World War with Germany, they needed to, they basically needed to evacuate Jerusalem, and they did, and Britain walked in. So Russia, France, and Britain won that one. And Italy, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Bulgaria, Serbia, they lost. And so Pergamum was opened in 1900. By 1914, we had war. Then we have France realizing Germany is going to go to war again by 1930s, and so they built something called the Maginot Line, which only faced one direction, and Germany just went through they went through the forest, and they came back around, and they conquered France within 2 months. It was horrible. And so that brought us to World War II, which is Hitler and Germany and Mussolini and Stalin and Amalek, which by that point in time we started to figure out there's something going on with Germany here. The Pergamum Museum Part 2 opened up in 1930. By 1933 we had Hitler running around. By 1937, 38, 39 we had war. Okay, we had Kristallnacht, and then we had war right after that. The Axis powers, Italy, Germany, Japan, lost. Russia played back and forth on this one, but the United States, Great Britain, and France won. And so I'm putting down below the Amalek side of this because now they've started two wars and they're going to start a third war too, according to Sadhu. The Antichrist will rule from Berlin. This is in 2015. This is in 2017. This is 2019. He keeps on repeating himself. And I'm arguing that there's a play between France and Germany, that Germany will be that supporter, that the country that kind of throws money at them to do some wicked things to prepare for the Antichrist. And I expect Germany to fund some other people, but it's all covert people. So it's funny that I even figured this one out. Thank you, Anthony Stein, for helping me to figure that out. The covert side. Germany will operate like Alexander. They will be fast. They will be like a leopard. That will be World War III. And so that's Daniel 7, as we already read. Daniel 8 talks more about the shaggy goat versus the ram, and the shaggy goat wins. And I'm assuming that normally a ram would win, but the shaggy goat does win. And if you look at Daniel chapter 8 and chapter 11 and some other sections that are very interesting, you'll see that the shaggy goat is listed, and it compares itself to Azazel, who is the point of the anti-point, we'll call it, of Yom Kippur. He is the goat demon out in the wilderness, and Alexander is somewhat like that, and the Antichrist will have that Azazel-like spirit during that time frame when he comes into power. And so I want to talk about the goat demon in the middle there. Macron's not the guy, okay? Amalek is the spirit behind it. It's an Esau spirit. It hates Jews and Judaism and really hates God in many ways, as Esau did. So just keep this in mind too, in case you love goats. If you had to put goat fur on your son's hand to know that it's your son, like remember, Isaac couldn't tell if it was Esau or Jacob that he was blessing. So Jacob's mother put goat skin on his hands, and his father felt him and said, "Oh, it feels like a goat. That's my son." Bah. Okay, that's bizarre. That's really, really bizarre. So just keep in mind that Germany, I'm saying, has this Amalek spirit, this Esau spirit, this hate Israel spirit, and hate the children of God. Adonai said to Moshe, write this in a book to be remembered and tell it to Joshua. I will completely blot out any memory of Amalek from under heaven. Moshe built an altar, called it Adonai Nisi. Adonai is my banner, miracle, and said, because their hand was against the throne of Yah, Adonai will fight Amalek generation after generation. Exodus 17. So that's not Macron, people. It is Germany. It is Germany, and it is the spirit of anti-Semitism, and it's the spirit that Obama has in part, but he's Gog. He's not the Antichrist. Okay, just deal with it. He has that Hitler-like aspect, but he's not the guy. Okay, there is not going to be an Islamic Antichrist. It doesn't match up with Scripture. It just doesn't, and you can't twist Scripture to make it work. Trump is not the Antichrist. Prince William is not the Antichrist. It could be some guy that plays hockey in the Czech Republic. Okay, it could be. So this is a Jewish source that I just love. It's Matisyahu Glazerson, a rabbi, wonderful guy. He's comparing Germany and Amalek, and he's saying this Nazi sign is Amalek, which is Germany, and it's also like the Hindu swastika too, which is very interesting. It's not France, guys. Sorry, it's not Macron. It's not France. It's Germany. And he cites it again. Lilith, who is the night demon, and we won't go into the Lilith story, but basically, it's this goat demon, this Azazel, is breaking the covenant, and at some point in time, it has to be avenged. And so that's the Amalekites, and those are the enemies of Israel, according to Glazerson and many rabbis and many other intelligent people. It's that spirit of the goat demon, of Azazel, of the Amalekites, and it's that anti-Israel spirit, especially during the end times. So this is Natan. This is when he said, "Who is Gog?" And Natan says, "Obama." So once again, Obama is not the Antichrist. He could be Gog. I'm arguing that. Gog is buried. The Antichrist is burned. So Obama is a human being. Human beings, according to God's schedule, deserve to be buried, and he will be buried in Israel. He'll have a special place in Israel. The Antichrist is burned. So there's something otherworldly about the Antichrist and the false prophet, and they are burned, which is it's very rare in the Bible to see people be burned, especially by God. So keep that in mind. It's all about kingdoms and setting up kingdoms. And there's been captivity and captivity. And you can see, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Roman Empire. Well, America is part of that too. There's a little bit of a passive captivity going on right now where the Jews are staying in America and they should really be heading back to Jerusalem and Israel. So Amalek on the far right-hand side is part of these kingdoms, always coming and trying to kill the Jews. So Haman trying to kill the Jews, Amalek trying to kill the Jews, Esau trying to kill the Jews. All of these other leaders over the years, Hitler, whatever else, all these people that you can see, all of these Amalek type people trying to kill the Jews. And it's the different kingdoms, another kingdom. But there's another kingdom coming. That's the revived Roman Empire, or whatever happens to be the Beast Empire that's coming against the Jews and trying to kill them off in Ezekiel 38, 39. And that's what's coming down the road here soon. Another couple of systems that are going, and this is Revelation 17 and 18, there is a beast system that happens at some point in time, and it burns the harlot system. And that's why I argue that Notre Dame is part of the harlot system being burned. And then they'll rebuild it in the beast system mode, which would be a pagan temple. And so this particular leader says hell does not exist. What exists is the disappearance of sinful souls. Well, he's wrong. He's bringing people together into the beast system because he wants unity above doctrine. And so, yes, I love Catholics, I do, but I can't stand a pope that would say these things. And I'm really quite proud of what John Paul II did in terms of defeating communism with Reagan. But in this case, this is wrong. Europe doesn't need to remain united. The richer countries don't have to support the poor countries because the richer countries work harder, and the poor countries don't. And so, it's going to break apart on its own. And so he wants unity, and he's willing to sacrifice anything to keep that pagan unity going. So I took you down the rabbit trail tonight. Sorry, that's just the way it goes. And so you enter the matrix. I'll give you a little bit of joy rather than a red pill and a blue pill. Where the red pill, you stay in this rabbit hole and you see how deep it goes. There are people that are trying to burn down Notre Dame last year and then rebuild it this year under covert means, from money from Germany to to build an Antichrist temple, because I truly believe that the Antichrist will walk into that building at some point in time. But keep this in mind. This is Job 12:22. He draws mysteries out of the darkness and brings obscurities to light. And that's what's going to be happening as the redemption comes. And it could happen, in a few years. So, as always, I go through my timeline, and France, the rooster, does not fit into any of these pieces of the puzzle. Germany does. So, I believe the first 3 seals have finished already. We're going into seal 4 at some point in time. You should notice the food prices rising very quickly. That's seal 3. Seal 4 will be 4 pieces. I'll explain that later on. The 2 witnesses show up before we go into the first 3.5 years, and then they leave before the midpoint, and then we go into the final 7 bowls at that point in time. 3 woes, the final 3 of the trumpets, plus 7 bowls equals the 10 judgments. So you will see things like Egypt during these end times. You will see those things. Matthew 24 from Yeshua, seals 6, 2, and 4 are listed in Matthew 24. Very similar, and really pestilence is a lot like seal 3. It really is. Okay, so keep that in mind as you move forward and you see that the seals we've gone through those, and then you move on, and the directions are based on Zechariah 1 and 6. Then you move on to the fourth seal, which we're heading into. That'd be 1.944444 deaths, billion deaths. And so it's going to come through supernatural means, from drought, from death, biowarfare. And so at some point in time, when you see that many people die, you know you're in the fourth seal. And Comet Atlas blew up, so we may not see that green comet come through. That's part of that supernatural part. So just keep that in mind. When we hit the fourth seal, you'll know it. You'll see so much death. You'll be amazed. It'll be horrific. That's seal 4. Seal 5 is martyrdom. Seal 6 is burning figs in an earthquake. And thank you very much for your time. Be blessed, be safe, and love the Lord.